Hey fighters, Sean here with another fight. This week we're still talking about anger. And like I said before, it's something that I've always struggled with. I know most people don't see it because I'm always like, la, 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 making silly videos, always encouraging and stuff like that. But that does not mean that I don't struggle with it all the time. I've always had to deal with was no matter what happens, my immediate response is to be angry. It could be something like glass tipping over and spilling everywhere. It could be reservations not met. It could be job parameters not met, stuff like that. My first response is always to be angry. It doesn't matter if it lasts a millisecond, I'm angry. And then I take a deep breath and let it go and realize that just happens. Now, I used to not be able to do that. I used to take out every chance I could. I would try to be angry or act on it because, I was trying to be a tough guy. Everybody likes a tough guy. Not everybody. Most people don't like it when people try to be a tough guy all the time. It's frustrating. You're like, dude, just calm down about it. It's okay. Now, when it hits the fan, that's when you want a tough guy. I'm like, all right, let's go. Yeah, so my first response would always be anger. You know, one of the fruits of the Spirit is to be patient, and God has given me plenty of places to be patient. But I tell you one thing that used to always get me. So a friend of mine would always show up, and he had a story. He had a story for everything. Something happened that week to where he almost got in a fight. And he told the story in such a way that I always got revved up. I'm like, okay. All right, let's go find this. What was it? She was 80? An 80-year-old woman cut you off? Oh, let's go find her right now. I don't care. I'll take that wheelchair from her. Oh man, every time he tell me a story, I just got revved, right? Where I grew up, we'd always say, I wish he would. I wish he would have done that to me. Man, I wish he would. And so if you don't know what that means, it means that I'm gonna mouth off for the next 5-10 minutes about whatever I would have done in that situation, even though most likely had it happened to me, I would have just sat there and took it and not said a dang thing. So here's the thing, anger isn't the problem. It's when we sin in our anger is the problem. God gave us anger for a purpose, for a reason, because we have to be so mad about something that we act on it. Problem is we apply anger to justify it. It's going to justify my actions because I'm angry. It's going to trigger me to yell and scream and torment somebody because they need to know that I'm angry. That's not the point of anger. You have anger to move you, to inspire you to do something to right a wrong. Not seek vengeance for your own self, but to right a wrong. Something's wrong. Slavery, sex trafficking, overpriced medication, racism, government corruption, sexual harassment. These things should make you mad, but you don't go off and seek vengeance. You do stuff to right the wrong. The problem is people think that because they're angry, they're right. That's not always the case. And because they're angry and because they think they're right, they're justified in their actions. That's why whenever you're talking to somebody when you're really angry, the louder you get in the argument means you win. The louder you get and the more curse words and when you're swearing and yelling because you're so angry, well, I have a right to be angry. You probably do, but you don't have a right to act that way. When you use terms like you never or you always when you're arguing with your spouse, it's most likely not true. So when my bride and I used to argue, we first got married, we used to argue all the time. Non-stop. Our relationship was arguments, and then we ate sometimes, and then we argued some more, then we chill out and watch CSI for a little bit on the couch, and then we argue some more. I remember there were times that while we're arguing, my volume would just escalate and her volume would escalate. And we would just yell on top of yell on top of yell on top of yell when nobody understands what the other person's saying because we're yelling an octave that a human ear cannot understand. So what's the point of the words we're saying? Because the point of an argument, a point of a conversation is what? To get your views across, to get what the problem is, how you see it across so that you guys can communicate and come to some type of understanding. But the whole time you're yelling at the person saying you always do this and this is your demeanor, it doesn't matter what you're saying, it's lost in how you say it. What you say is just as important as how you say it. And men, I don't know what it is that comes out from inside of us. Whenever we're arguing, we like to puff our chest and make our voice deeper. Say with your chest, son. Say with your chest. You kind of try to have this intimidating demeanor so that they know they shouldn't challenge you. When the best thing for you is to be challenged. Because if you're not challenged, you don't grow. If you go into any relationship, friendship, marriage, business, partnership, whatever it is, and you go in saying this needs to stay exactly the same, you're going to be so mad all the time. Because it's not. Things change. And if you're not able to roll and adapt, then you're just not going to make it. And if you fight every change with frustration and anger, you're going to frustrate yourself and your team and your spouse and your friends, and you'll end up all alone. I used to have this boss that would rule with intimidation. He would always come in the office and he'd smoke, even though it was a smoke-free zone. He'd walk around the office just smoking away, talking about stuff. He was a very outspoken Scientologist. He would just go in and tell me, I'm not clear on this, I'm not clear on that, and it would make us stare at each other, and if we didn't stare long enough, he would ask us why and what's wrong with our childhood and who we are because we couldn't maintain eye contact, and he would say all types of stuff. He'd go in my office and he'd shut the door and yell and scream about something that I had nothing to do with it. He was just mad and he picked me to yell at, and so I'd sit back in my chair and, all right, man, I had nothing to do with that, so why are you yelling at me? He's like, I'm just so angry, I got to tell you about it, and you need to fix it. I'm like, it's not even my department. Your department's whatever department I say it is, and just, oh man, tell you the truth, it was actually a compliment because he was so angry he thought, I'm going to go tell Sean, and Sean's going to fix it. So I took it more as a compliment. I didn't really get upset. One day he says he's going to Jim Bowie me. I'm like, what the junk is a Jim Bowie? Back in the day, Bowie knife. Bowie, whatever. It's Texas. We're going to say whatever we want to say in the moment, all right? He says, what you do is you go in this room, you put a knife on the floor on a table, then you turn the lights off, and whoever gets to that knife first and kills the other guy, that's a real man. That's how you're supposed to settle disputes. I'm like, what? You want to kill somebody because they didn't put the right numbers in a spreadsheet? I said, bro, you need to calm down. He's like, nah, this is how men do it. To be honest, being a man means that in any situation that you're going to look out for the weak, that you're going to love and cherish the people that are around and try your best to understand the people that you don't know. Being a man means that you're going to do your best for your family and your community and your country and your God. There's something inside of me that gets so riled up when I hear certain things happen. And I think that tension inside of me, that anger inside of me is there for a reason. But if I just let it out by yelling at my kids or yelling at my wife because I don't know how to handle my emotions, most of the time, that's why men are angry and abusive and lash out. It's because they don't know how to handle the emotions that are rising up in them. Anger's not bad, how you handle it is. All right, so here's 3 things that you need to know about anger. Number 1, anger never wins arguments. Let me clarify. Lashing out in anger never wins arguments. When you're so angry, you're not listening to the person. You just want to shut them down. You're never going to win an argument. Now, they might stop talking. They may give up on their end. It doesn't mean you win, but you can be moved in a conversation. Now, you can still be angry in that conversation, but it's whenever you lash out, things need to stop right then and there. Number 2, anger carries boundaries. You cannot move from where you are until you have calmed down from what you're angry about. I mean, it does not matter how you disguise the next part of your conversation, the next part of your day. If you're angry, your mind is trapped in a loop of frustration, playing the situation over and over and over, becoming more and more angry. When you do that, you get stopped in your tracks. Your anger cannot be a foothold in your day. It cannot be a foothold in your life, because if it is, the enemy is going to use that to taint every one of your discussions, every one of your conversations, every one of your relationships with that anger. When you lash out in your anger, it is felt deeper than the actual problem. While you're lashing out, they're thinking, wow, this guy is so mad at me Even though you might not be mad at that person, you're mad at the situation, but because you're lashing out, this guy is so mad at me. I can't believe I've done something so wrong where he would treat me this way. And when we get angry, we make it so personal. I can't believe you don't agree with me with this. You have to be on my side. It becomes a point of pride now. That anger is turned into pride. And what happens to pride? Pride comes before the fall. When you're in an argument and you get angry, it comes across your face, it comes across your body language. And to that person that you're having the conversation with has nothing to do with the problem anymore. What matters now is the emotion that you're broadcasting all over them. They receive it. You can physically feel it when somebody's angry. So don't let anger have a foothold in you, in your life, in your words, how you view things, how you say things. Be a trusted place where people can come to you. Because if they know you're going to be angry about it, they know you're going to lash out in your anger, then they can never trust you with a problem. And there's people all around you just waiting to feel like they can be heard, just waiting to feel like they can be helped. And there are people in this life that God assigns to you that do not feel like they can share what's going on with them because they're afraid you're going to lash out at them. Don't respond in anger when you can respond in grace, because responding in grace can change a life.